Can you break down how we got here?
So the government does not take in enough money in taxes and other revenue to fund its operations. So the Treasury Department sells debt to finance government expenses such as military salaries, interest payments to bondholders. But there is a limit imposed by Congress on how much debt the government can borrow. And that limit is currently set at $31.4 trillion. The situation actually happens fairly often where the government is nearing its debt limit, most recently in December 2021, when Congress agreed to raise the debt ceiling by $2.5 trillion. So right now, there's about a 6-month window, economists estimate, where the Treasury Department can avoid defaulting on its debt by deploying what are known as extraordinary measures, which is, high octane terminology, but ordinary Americans wouldn't really see huge impacts from this quite yet. And basically, it's just an accounting trick that the Treasury Department can use to move money around from certain agencies in order to make payments when they come due. And there's a number of other specific measures that Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen laid out last week in warning that we were nearing the debt ceiling cap. So we can talk about those as well.
Yeah, we've heard things like extraordinary measures from Janet Yellen, debt nearing the debt ceiling. This all sounds really ominous, but you said it happens fairly often. How bad is this for the typical American?
Yes, fairly often, in that the U.S. has actually never defaulted, for failing to raise the debt limit, and has raised the cap 78 times since 1960. So it is hard to predict what would actually happen if there was a default, considering it is so unprecedented. But these extraordinary measures, as I explained, are really just accounting maneuvers that the Treasury Department can deploy to stave off, a default. But Yellen has warned that this can only be done for about 6 months. And some of those extraordinary measures include new investments on government employee retirement funds. She's specifically said she'll suspend investments in the Civil Service Retirement and Disability Fund, along with the Postal Service Retiree Health Benefits Fund. And she's going to suspend several reinvestments as well in the Government Securities Investment Fund and the Federal Employees Retirement System Thrift Savings Plan. So I know that's some hefty terminology, but again, there's often some confusion between a debt ceiling fight and a government shutdown. A government shutdown has happened before, most recently in December 2018, regarding a fight over border wall funding. This is when Congress was looking at passing a full year budget plan. But again, this has never really happened in the past, so it is hard to say what would occur, but I can talk about some of the looming consequences that economists are fearing, and what happened the last time that we neared the debt ceiling cap in 2011.
Let's talk about that, because we're kind of in a similar boat as we were in 2011. There was a GOP controlled House and there was some playing of politics. So can you walk us through the similarities here between now and 2011?
Yes. In 2011, Republicans had just regained control of the House, as they have this year, and President Obama was in office. So we had a White House that did not want to negotiate. The Biden administration has said we are not going to negotiate on the debt ceiling. But then we had a number of Republicans in the House who wanted to reduce the deficit in exchange for raising the debt ceiling cap. And Republicans have not, specifically said exactly what their priorities would be in exchange for raising the debt ceiling cap. They have floated reforms to Medicare and Social Security, such as raising the age eligibility. And they have said that deficit reduction is a huge priority. McCarthy himself has come out and named that specifically. And then we have some more, extreme Republicans who, those on the far right, who are saying that they want to present a bill that would just be like a wholesale makeover of President Biden's policies, everything from border wall funding to, COVID funding, Ukraine funding, in order to pass a debt ceiling cap. So, yeah, it's definitely a contentious situation. And given what we saw in the speaker's race, we know that Republicans are willing to go to great lengths to have leadership cave to their demands. And a number of those demands that came up in the speaker's race actually make it harder for Congress to pass a bill that would raise the debt ceiling cap. There's a new rules provision that prohibits Congress from raising the debt ceiling as part of a budget resolution, as they have done in the past, and requires the House to take a vote on raising the debt ceiling specifically.